Hey everybody, Coldon here with another VOX Immortalis commentary guide. This video is for Heroic Yor'sahj in 10-man, and because this encounter is all about color combinations and how you handle those, I split the video into two parts. So the first half is just 6 separate sections dealing with each of the possible color combinations, and then the second half is just a straight run through of the fight and sort of how we do it tactically. And so it's important to note that there are only 6 combinations you can get. So the first one here, and I've ordered these in order of importance or difficulty. So the most difficult is by far green, yellow, black, red. We call this the stoplight combination due to green, yellow, and red, of course. So the first thing you want to do is kill green. And the reason for this is this allows you to stack up on top of the boss and mitigate the damage from the red beam while obviously getting rid of green. The problem is that you're still left with yellow, red, and black. And the combination is this is the highest incoming damage to your raid by far of any. The good news is you don't have the purple debuff and you don't have mana drain. So it's really all about spamming your heals and cooldowns. This is the combination we use all our cooldowns for like raid healing and raid damage mitigation. So I use Tranquility, and then our priest uses his hymn and all that good stuff. The other reason that this one is difficult is because yellow exists. The tank is taking a lot more damage, and you're getting 2 sets of Forgotten One adds. And this was an important thing we didn't realize until one of our paladins figured it out, is that because yellow reduces the cooldown on Yor'sahj's abilities like his Void Bolt, it also means it reduces the Forgotten One spawn cooldown. So you get 2 sets of adds anytime yellow is active, if black is up at the same time. So it can be really difficult because of that as well. So you kill your first set of Forgotten One adds, but then the second set is spawning just as the next phase begins. So I'm extending this phase a little long to see how we deal with Forgotten Ones. Essentially, after this phase is over and we're done stacking, you have all these adds that are going to follow you. So try to keep your ranged and healers as close to the next ooze that you're killing as possible. Or excuse me, as far as possible, as close to the boss, so that any major DPS that aren't busy killing the ooze can finish off the Forgotten Ones. So in our case, we have our Rogue and Death Knight doing that, basically. So the next most difficult combination is purple, yellow, black, red. And in this combo, you kill yellow. And the reason for this is that if you run the numbers, yellow is by far the most damaging ability, coming in around 90,000 DPS to the raid when it's active, whereas green is 44,000 DPS, red is 33 or so, and black is 25 to about 32, depending on the targets of the adds, since they do physical attacks. So, and then of course yellow also does extra damage to the tank, which is sort of hard to calculate. That said, on this combination, because you still have red and black left over with the purple debuff, it can be pretty challenging for healing especially. So you can see that, well, it's hard to tell from my grid, but basically we have healing assignments split. One healer on one group, one healer on the other group. And I'll talk more about that in the second half. But for this combination, it's just important that everyone stays topped off, because if they get targeted by a Forgotten One add, or even 2 of them, which is possible, and get hit with the red beam at the same time, that's a huge amount of spike damage. So again, use personal cooldowns on that. Third most difficult is probably green, black, red, blue. In this combo, we always kill green. And this is simply to allow you to stack. That's the general rule in all this setup, is if you have green with any other damaging combination, you basically want to kill that so you can stack up and have efficient healing and efficient damage to kill Forgotten One adds. So we're killing green in this case. And then we're left with red and black along with blue. The good news is that blue is the easiest color you can get. And I'll talk more about how you handle the mana void. But you can see that we have one mana void off to the left that's really low health. And what this is a saved mana void from the previous time we got the blue orb. So the very first time you get blue, you don't actually want to kill the mana void. You want to get to low health and then use mana increasing cooldowns, Innervate or Divine Plea or whatever, to give you enough mana to survive the phase. And then you have sort of this mana void that is banking previous mana that you have. So in this case, with our previous mana void, once the new void spawned in this phase, we killed the old one, instantly got a bunch of mana back, and this let us take our time in actually killing the fresh void that's at full health. So the fourth combination is purple, yellow, blue, black. And this is a pretty simple one. You simply kill yellow, and then you're left with black, blue, and purple. And this combination plus the final two are very, very simple. Any combination that has blue and purple together is very easy because you can always kill one of the other two damaging oozes and only be left with one damaging ooze, which is very simple to heal through for the most part. So general tips for purple and blue is, as you can see, I'm just pre-hotting everyone. If you have hots for one of your healers, take advantage of those. And I'm also making sure that my life bloom stacks as a druid are on the tank before the sort of purple buff applies. But other than that, you're only dealing with, like I said, one damaging ability. So in this case, it's black. So just have your DPS burn down the ads. We actually don't do a very good job. We're still learning how the ads worked. And we still thought that if you killed them too early, they would spawn again. We didn't realize it was yellow. But in any event, you would kill black right away there, all the ads. And then you'd be fine. And the fifth combo is purple, green, black, blue. Again, just like the previous, anytime you get purple, blue, just kill the most dangerous of the other colors, and then you'll be fine. So in this case, we're killing black. Now, technically, the ads from black do slightly less damage than the green, but in this case, it's also a DPS thing. Anytime you get extra ads that aren't necessary, that's extra DPS you're taking away from the boss somewhat, even if it's AE damage. So in that case, it's kind of a toss-up, which one's more dangerous between green and black, so we decide to kill black so we don't have to deal with the ads and therefore lose some DPS. So other than that, if you have the green like this, you just spread out your ranged and healers, but melee can actually remain stacked. The green does not prefer to attack melee, so if there are enough ranged targets, it will go for those people. And that's pretty much it. Just like on normal, if you stack, if you spread at least 4 yards from green, then you'll be fine. And this is probably the easiest combination. And then the final combo here is going to be purple, green, yellow, blue. And this is pretty much identical to the last one because similar to before, you're killing the most dangerous non-blue, non-purple. In this case, you're killing yellow. So you get the same actual living combination as the fifth set. You get the blue, purple, and green left over. So it'll be just like we did before. Just spreading out our ranged and healers kind of around the boss with 4 yards, and melee can still stay clumped if they need to. And I mentioned the mana void trick, so basically we're doing the same exact thing here. You can see our old mana void, and then if you watch closely, once the new mana void spawns and drains all our mana, there it is. Now we kill the old one and instantly get all our mana back. And now we can take our time getting that other mana void low. So it takes a little bit of practice for your DPS timing. One tip you can do is that it's okay to have melee attack the mana void as long as red is not active. Obviously, because then moving out to attack the mana void will get them killed. But if red is not active, then melee are free to attack the mana void, basically. So, just about going back to the start here, and then we'll do a full run through of this fight. So I'll talk about the overall tactics and how we handle transitions. So I mentioned a couple times that we are using 2 healers. So myself as a druid, and we also have a holy paladin. And it's a pretty good combination. I think any combination of healers would work, but for our setup, this was the best. And we tried a few different strategies. There's also a strategy that's common to use 3 healers, and you, of course, trade DPS in the raid for more survivability. With that combination, though, you can't really do this same Ooze Order that we're using here, because you'll get a lot of extra ads and waste a lot of damage. So unless you have a lot of extra cleave damage, that doesn't really lower your single target DPS. you'll have trouble with the Berserk timer if you're 3 healing. So, as I said, we're using 2 healers and then 1 tank, which is our protection paladin here. So in that first combo, we had the stoplight. So I mentioned that's the most difficult. And so we basically have all our cooldowns, and we're just blowing everything that we can to survive. So I use my tree form here. I use my 15-second haste buff. I spam all my hots. Then I use tranquility, I believe. I already used it, yeah. And then our priest will do his after mine is done. And remember to use your shamans for healing rain, even if they're DPS spec. So we have both our shamans, throw that down. And just anything you can do to survive. Once you actually get them to transition to the phase, you just have Forgotten Ones left. So make sure you continue to watch people that are targeted by those. And as I mentioned before, you can see we're trying to sort of keep the Forgotten Ones close enough that extra DPS that aren't on the ooze can deal with them. And that's another big tip that we found that really affects your meeting the Berserk timer. Try to get 2 DPS on Yor'sahj full time if you can afford it, especially melee DPS. So in our case, for a while we were using just a Death Knight on Yor'sahj, and everyone else would switch to the oozes back and forth. But we hit the Berserk timer on one of our attempts with like 2% left, and that's actually this attempt you're seeing here. So instead, we also added our Rogue and our Death Knight to Yor'sahj full time. And then the only time they would switch off is to get a mana void down or to finish off Forgotten One adds. Or in a rare case, if we didn't have enough DPS on the ooze for some reason, we would call that out a little bit early so they could just sprint a few feet toward it and finish it off and then go back to the boss. And that makes a huge difference hitting the Berserk timer. So here we have purple, green, black, blue. Not a very difficult combination, one of the easier ones. So we're killing black, and I talked about this before. This just leaves us with blue and purple combo, which is really simple, and then 1 damaging ability. So in this case, it'll be green. So let me talk a little bit about healing for purple. There are a number of abilities that trigger stacks for the purple debuff. And it's common in sort of pugs and even normal strategies to always kill purple. But in heroic, because you have extra combinations, you can't afford to do that. So it's important that you know which of your healing abilities trigger the stacks and plan accordingly. So I won't go through them all, but I'll tell you my basic healing strategy for myself as a druid. So I'm assigned to the tank and group 1. So it's the top row in my grid. And so the first thing you should know is that you should split your ranged and melee DPS somewhat evenly between your healers. Because when you have green, like we do here, and nothing else, the only people taking damage are the tank and ranged or healers. Melee don't get hit by it. So you can see I have a rogue and an enhancement shaman in my group. So I'm only healing myself, our priest, and the tank on that combination. And that just means I can concentrate more on when I need to time my heals. The other big thing is that a druid healer is really good at healing the tank, probably the best healer. The reason for this is because you're limited to basically 4 heals every 25 seconds that cause a stack on the tank. You want to maximize basically the healing output per heal that applies a stack. And druids are strong at this because when they cast a healing touch on someone with life plume stacks, it only applies 1 stack for the actual healing touch. The refresh of life plume in that case is free. It doesn't cause a stack. So it's sort of hard to keep track of all that and time things properly. But the general goal here is that your life bloom healing, the 3 stack on the tank, is sort of extra above and beyond your 4 healing touches. That said, healing touch is not a very strong heal compared to something like a greater heal or divine light from a paladin. But overall, it's higher reliable healing per second than most of the other classes can do. And if you time it right, like you'll see, sometimes I get a 3 stack on the tank of life bloom, and then do a healing touch or just refresh the life bloom just before the purple debuff is applied, And so then you're basically buying yourself 8 or 9 seconds of free life bloom healing before you have to give them a first stack. And that's really key. That said, your tank will still need to watch their own health and cooldowns very, pay attention, basically. So what else about healing purple? So also rejuve, applying rejuve does apply a stack. Swift mending does apply a stack, but only to the one person you swift mend. And efflorescence ticks do not apply any stacks, so it's a really strong heal. So you'll see I generally will efflorescence on cooldown when I can. And then otherwise use rejuves and supplement that with healing touch. Don't rejuvenation the tank unless you can guarantee it's not going to overheal, which is pretty hard to do. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your stacks. So I tend to just keep life bloom and healing touch for the tank and rejuve other players in my group. And beacon healing on the tank is also free. So this is the other reason that I'm direct healing the tank, and our paladin is on the second group. So all the heals that he applies to other people that trigger beacon are going to our tank for free. And that's really important as well. So I mentioned the Forgotten One ads. They are somewhat dangerous in that when they spawn, they don't fixate on target right away. So if you do quick AE or just get a threat in some way, they can sort of beat on you a lot. So this was something our elemental shaman experienced quite a bit. Using his AE, he would get threat on a couple of them really quickly, and he would get beat on before fixates went out. And our Death Knight kind of got that as well, so just something to be aware of. I should also mention that if you have access to a really well-geared Death Knight tank, they can be pretty strong in this encounter due to their heals and absorbs when they take spike damage. So something to keep in mind if you have access to that. You can see here we're getting green, yellow, black, red. So the process is repeating now at this point, or the combinations. Basically how the ooze colors work, as I mentioned, there's 6 combos that you can get. Once you get a particular color combination, it will not repeat until the full cycle of 6 has gone off. Now that said, the order of those 6 combinations can be, it's completely random. So you could get, stoplight first like we did, and then say the 5th most difficult, then the 2nd and the 3rd, and so on. But once one color combination happens, you will not see that same color combination again until at the very earliest 6 spawns later. So we got stoplight first, and then we didn't see it until the 7th combination again. But it could have been something else on that 7th. It didn't have to be that. It just happened that it was that. So basically, you'll never repeat anything until the others have gone off in total of 6 combinations. So don't be afraid to use your cooldowns on something that you need them for, because it should be up by the time you get that same combo again, for most of the time. So the other thing I should talk about is that for a 2-healer setup especially, it's not really necessary to have mana regeneration of any kind. You really just want to focus on healing per second output, because you need burst healing for the difficult combinations. You pretty much, our Paladin healer put it well, that this fight is very binary in terms of people's health. And so you essentially have situations where everyone's pretty much full health, or you're getting spiked severely and nearly dead. And so you need to make up that difference as healers very quickly. And so you can see there we hit Berserk around 2%. And I mentioned this, that was our attempt where we hit Berserk because we didn't have enough damage on Yor'sahj most of the fight. So we, as I mentioned, we swapped our Rogue and our Death Knight DPS to Yor'sahj full time. And so this clip is the final burn. So you can see we had green, red, blue, black. We killed green, as we do. And now we're stacking up to deal with the red and the black together. And since we don't have purple, we're just burning all our heals that we can. I'm just focusing on hotting everyone, keeping the tank up. And we burned down the ads with AE, but once those are dead, Yor'sahj is actually pretty low health, and Berserk is in about a minute. So we decided to stay on him full time and finish him off before the next set of oozes actually reach him. So this is an important thing. If you can determine from your raid's DPS how much time they'll need to finish Yor'sahj off, you want to decide when you actually want to keep on him and rather than go for the oozes. So we managed to finish him off with about 30 seconds to spare, and that's plenty. So that was Heroic Yor'sahj. It's a pretty challenging encounter, but if you get the order correct for your raid and practice the healing and DPS requirements, you shouldn't have too much trouble. Good luck, and thanks for watching.